Testing. Testing 1 2. Testing. All right. I think I'm coming in strong. If anyone hears any weird stuff coming from my mic, please let me know now. Matter of fact, I'm going to listen to myself on the back end to make sure that I'm not echoing or anything stupid. Give me 1 second. Oh, yeah, I sound good. All right. What's going on, viewers? Gracious host Kaine Walker back with another episode of the Monkey Paw, episode 47 and a half, where we document the downfall of mainstream Western entertainment. I am joined by my host, myself, and I am doing wonderful tonight. All right. I'm basically just picking up where I left off, where the stream crashed last night. Was it last night? Was it last night or Thursday? I'm having the dementia's kicking in. I can't even fucking remember. But you get the point. I think it was yesterday, but I can't remember, man. I can't remember. Damn it. It might have been Thursday. I don't know. Anyway, let me just jump right into it because the topic I was covering had to do with one of the Halo devs receiving some backlash from for a statement he made from some guy on Twitter, as usual. And the kicker was he was actually kind of agreeing with the position of the news outlets trying to condemn ICE and the White House, but really only the ICE post, because he was kind of trying to clarify that, you know, if they were trying to compare immigrants to the flood from Halo, that it was kind of, you know, mean-spirited, because, you know, the flood is like a race of aliens who were like a virus or whatever. But yeah, we'll just go ahead and peel back the full context of it so that I'm not pulling from memory. So let me go ahead and take off the Monkey's Paw banner and bring up the Twitter post. Give me 1 second. All right. So the article we ended up reading that day was from PC Gamer, and I'm going to bring that up here in a second. Actually, I'll do it right now, actually, because this is the part of his quote that they used, but they didn't really put the full quote in here. Same thing with the article written by this guy, Steven Totillo. I think that's his name. I can't pronounce it correctly. But anyway, he writes for GameFile News, I guess. But they both did the same thing, where they just took this part of what he said in isolation. And it says, using Halo imagery in a call to destroy people because of their immigration status goes way too far and ought to offend every Halo fan, regardless of political orientation. I personally find it despicable. The Flood are evil space zombie parasites and are not an allegory to any group of people. All right, so what he decided to do was kind of go into more detail about what he was saying and clarify that he doesn't really agree with him either, because of all the things that they were doing, and the left in particular, because, you know, like I say all the time, every politics and culture are married now, which is fucking annoying. That's why we're having this discussion about Halo in conjunction with the fucking White House and ICE. But that's the timeline we live in. But anyway, what he does is put the full context of the quote here. He says, here's the full quote. His name is, by the way, his name is Jamie Griesemer. I think I'm pronouncing that. Or is it Gressimer? Anyway, there's his name. And he says, here's the full quote I gave to Totolo. Man, these fucking names. For context, Halo is a cultural icon, and like anything with cultural capital, it is going to be used by politicians and brands and anyone else looking for relevancy. Usually, I take it as a compliment to Halo's continuing legacy. Excuse me. However, using Halo imagery in a call to destroy people because of their immigration status goes way too far and ought to offend every Halo fan regardless of political orientation. I personally find it despicable. The Flood are evil space zombie parasites and are not an allegory to any group of people. So that's the full quote. And it, to be honest with you, it basically changes nothing. But that's the thing, though. Like, why didn't they just include the entire quote instead of just cutting out this part here? You know what I mean? Also, like I said last night or Thursday, whichever. Like I said last stream, it just seems like everyone's just taking, not everyone. It seems like the left is just taking the worst possible interpretation because they can and just running with it, which, you know, to be honest with you, as far as I'm concerned, the left versus the American government is just two rival gangs fighting, and I have no dog in it. But I can still witness the behavior. You know what I mean? But anyway, he goes on to say, but also the left has been driven so insane that this tactic is going to work. I fully expect, actually, the Flood were the real heroes of Halo within the week. So he doesn't fuck with them either. And of course, he received backlash because of it. Let me read the comments. He also says, don't advertise for ICE using a vehicle mounted 50 cal, which, yeah, that was kind of tone deaf on their part. The president may be dehumanizing a vulnerable group of people by comparing them to a parasitic horde, but boy, the left is getting mad about it. See? Conservatives have no values besides trolling the other side. You see? Like, you can't win. Like, you can't disagree with the government and the left at the same time. You have to pick a side when it comes to them. It's just wild. You know what I mean? Be nice if you read the article before commenting. Yeah, I did. I saw your comments. I saw your other comments. I'm agreeing that the White House is successfully winning over their base by trolling liberals despite life getting materially worse for their own voters. Nothing matters more than getting dunks on a single outraged liberal. Oh boy. It's almost like y'all have been doing that for the past 15 years and ruining everything in your path as a result. But anyway, that's a very small part of what I want to discuss involving the Halo thing, because he's actually one of the original devs of Combat Evolved, and he had some things to say about the remake that recently dropped. So, like, he kind of trolls people here by saying the original intent behind the discussion of Sprint was to show that you could add new mechanics to Halo. Wait, did I unmute my mic? I did. I suddenly got really paranoid about that for some reason. But the original intent behind the discussion of Sprint was to show that you could add new mechanics to Halo given resources to make the proper trade-offs. In this thread, I will critique IGN's remake of my Twitter thread, which is really nothing more than a remaster at best. And then he doesn't fucking do it. He doesn't even make a thread. Right, and the guy shows up, teases a thread about an interesting and hotly debated topic that he has unique insight on as the guy who made the decision, doesn't make the thread, refuses to elaborate, leaves. And it's the Chad meme. He's like, that was the bit. So, like, he doesn't even, he's basically standing on his opinions, or he made the game. No, I think there's still opinions. He's standing on his opinions and refusing to elaborate any further than he already has. You know? And IGN made an article about him having a problem with the way the game was designed. I wonder what they had to say about it, honestly. So, like, this is from IGN. They said, I made it right. Well, okay, well, they're quoting him. They're quoting Jamie. And it says, I made it right, and they are breaking it for no reason. One of the key members of the original Halo dev team doesn't sound thrilled with Microsoft's Halo campaign Evolved. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Microsoft has finally unveiled Halo Campaign Evolved, a remake of the campaign portion of Bungie's beloved Halo Combat Evolved. Halo fans have spent most of the weekend debating the changes Halo Studios has made for this upcoming 2026 shooter, from the addition of Sprint to the more pristine art style. But what do the developers of Halo Combat Evolved itself make of the remake? Jamie Gressimer is one of the key developers behind Halo. He was most involved with designing Halo's famous 30 seconds of fun gameplay loop and designed much of the campaign itself. Now creative director at Highwire Games, 6 Days in Fallujah, Gressimer took to Twitter to deliver an early verdict on gameplay footage coming out of Microsoft's Halo Campaign Evolved reveal. I do want to take a second to comment on this. A lot of people like to levy the critique that, you know, how can you say a game that hasn't even come out yet is bad? And it's like, because all of you are able to say a game that hasn't come out yet is good. It's for the exact same fucking reason. It's like people forget what advertisements are for. It's to assess the product. Like, from my own perspective, might I add. Like, me as an individual customer, I'm allowed to look at the advertisement and go, that looks kind of shit. I don't think I'll buy it. But for some reason in a group discussion, you'd be the bad guy. It doesn't even make any fucking sense. At all. Who cares if the game's not out yet? Why even release a demo if I can't say it's shit? Doesn't even make sense. What do you think a beta test is for? And for the record, anybody that got early access to play this shit is not going to point out any flaws in it. Not even the obvious dumb shit with the needler, where they gave it an LCD screen and the shit is literally the exact same as just looking at the top of the gun for the needles disappearing. It's actually stupid. But anyway, to deliver an early verdict on gameplay footage coming out of Microsoft's Halo Campaign Evolved reveal, he did not sound impressed. I don't know what this gameplay is about. I think this is somebody else's gameplay. I don't think this is related to Jamie. You aren't supposed to be able to take the Warthog up to steamroll the hunters, Gressimer said. I intentionally placed rocks in the way so you had to fight them on foot. When you can't just smash the crates out of the way, it wrecks the encounters. But the worst part? They put trees in the landing area of the woohoo jump. Lame. So they made certain parts. So what they deliberately done is make sections that are supposed to be deliberately challenging easier, and they cut out fun tricks and exploits that players used to do to have a good time. That's already indicative of a worse product. Like a lot of games have like famous speedrun strats or famous exploits that just make the experience fun. And a lot of the time when they do a remake or remake or a remaster, they take those things out. And it makes for an overall worse experience because you remember the game for the jank as well as the well-made parts. And a lot of the strats in Halo Combat Evolved didn't even really look like jank. It just looked like developer oversight mostly. Like a smart player would be able to find this out and just use it. Like Jamie even points out in his Twitter post that he put the rocks there so that you couldn't take a Warthog through it, but somehow some crazy players were still able to get a Warthog through and insta-kill the hunters. And he's like, well, it's fair play because I already put the I already put the barrier in place. If you just glitch through it, like, what am I supposed to do about that? You know what I mean? Like, he just congratulated them for playing well, I guess. But yeah, you can see where his criticism comes from. Let's unpack this a bit. Somebody in the comment section said that GPT's writing for them because of this. Let's unpack this a bit. Gressimer is criticizing a key part of the iconic campaign mission, the Silent Cartographer. The first encounter with two hunters, in the original Halo. This fight is meant to be played with Master Chief on foot. Players soon discovered it was possible to brute force a warthog into the area or arena. But in Microsoft's remake, players can freely take their warthog up to the hunters and ride roughshod over their hapless victims. I imagine the hunters with their dying breaths gurgling, "No fair." God, that. Yeah. You know what? They probably would do something like that if you had that that I would have been your daddy skull on. Maybe they would have. Oh, exactly, Rudy. It's like getting into a relationship with a woman without looking at how she interacts with other people. Yeah, exactly. How, like, it seems like only positive opinions about upcoming products are the only acceptable ones. Like, to this day, like, people will still say, "Man, the game's not even out yet." Like, what the fuck? Have you not seen all the positive press for this shit that's not even out yet? You don't think that's weird? That it's only allowed for it to be going one way. Doesn't make any sense. Never trust a critic who likes everything. At the same time, never trust a critic who doesn't like anything. What's crazy is that a lot of people who are actually good critics get tarred with the brush of not liking anything. Well, of course that's going to happen if you're a good critic in an ecosystem with creators that produce nothing but fucking garbage. Like, what do you want them to do? Like, think of the height of pop culture, right? You'll have a bunch of fantastic projects and then some mediocre shit and then some, like, very few abysmal things. But now it's the fucking inverse. It's the exact inverse. A whole bunch of shit, some mediocre things, and then one or two exceptional things. It's completely flipped on its head. Jesus. Oh, yeah. And they even put in parentheses here. Oh, and that woohoo jump, Gressimer explained. There's a ramp that is supposed to have a bunch of jackals at the landing spot. Your gunner would always say woohoo when you got airborne. They fucking got rid of that. Or they put trees there? That's dumb. I mean, the fact that you're able to explain this so vividly to the point where you explain that it's literally a ramp that you ride the warthog over makes me think that putting trees in the exact landing spot was a deliberate choice to ruin somebody's fun. Because why would you do that? Like, you literally see it's a fucking ramp with a jump. Why would you put shit in the landing zone? It doesn't make sense. Like, I've never seen this part played in the remake, and already it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's fair to say Gressimer's tweet, viewed 2.3 million times, has sparked a reaction online, with some fans insisting the level layout change ruins the gameplay flow. Others saying this change and others like it will make the game more fun. Why the fuck would putting trees in the landing zone of the woohoo jump make it more fun? Why would running over hunters with your warthog make it more fun? You know what I mean? Outside of the challenge of trying to break the game, like with the rock thing. Because when the rocks were there, getting a warthog through was a fucking challenge. Like, even if you did, like, make the hunters easier, you still had to fight through the rocks. You know what I mean? But without the rocks, you could just get your warthog through free. Like, how does that make it more fun? Breaking the game is like trying to break the game is its own kind of fun. Like, there's beating the game and then there's beating the game. I don't know. I guess IGN and people who think it's fun to not have a challenge wouldn't understand that. I don't know. He continued, most people force the warthog through because of the hunters. The introduction of the hunters was supposed to be intimidating and difficult, but in the light so you can understand them. Then you meet them in an enclosed dark area, and they are even harder. But then you get rockets and vehicles to turn the tables. It's a 3-act play of enemy design, and you want to throw it in a blender. Okay, I get what he means. It's a 3-act play of enemy design, and you want to throw it in a blender. Fine, it'll go down easier, but it's not going to taste as good. Exactly. So what he's saying is the reason why I put the rocks there is so you could figure out how the enemy works, so you could properly learn how to fight it. Motherfuckers ain't trying to do that nowadays. They're not trying to learn how to properly fight anything. They're just trying to consume their junk food and move on to the next game. Like, they don't give a shit. They don't. And what they don't understand is an easier time in the earliest parts of the game is going to make it harder in the long run. Because you don't know what the fuck you're doing. But, anywho. It's like the dance remix of a classic song that skips the intro and the bridge and just thumps the chorus over and over. Gressimer later offered a potential explanation for this change. On further analysis, I'm sure it's because the vehicles take damage, and so you're just as likely to destroy the hog as get it over the rocks. I mean, that was kind of, again, that just kind of proves that the getting it over the rocks was a decent enough challenge. I'm sure he agrees with that, but I'm just pointing that out. If anything, that makes it worse. Oh, so he fucking does agree with it. Because none of the vehicle tricks are going to work anymore. Ah, yes. Yeah, that was actually I was watching some speed runs of Halo, and on higher difficulties like heroic, a lot of the vehicle tricks literally can't be done because the vehicles take damage like a bitch. And also you instantly die trying to do vehicle tricks. So yeah. Another fun thing on, more reasonable difficulties completely removed from the game. Quickly, you can see why people are already starting to, assess this as an inferior product to the original. Or I think somebody said there was already a remake of this shit anyway. I don't know if it was good or not, but, like I said, you can see where people's criticism comes from already. I don't know why they're showing this tweet, but I'll read it, I guess. From Eddie, I was a bit shocked to notice the big tree that would try to block the warthog was gone. Excuse me. What are your thoughts about sprint being a toggle option? Make it an option is the biggest red flag for a dysfunctional design. We have no vision for what this is supposed to be. Here's the tools to fix it yourself. That's literally what the fuck I said whenever we were talking about Doom the Dark Ages and all of the fucking sliders. I literally said they're trying to abolish the dev player contract and make it so that you can just mass produce games without any effort. Just put a bunch of toggles and sliders in and let the player fix it for themselves. I said balance the game for yourself, but it's essentially the same fucking argument with different words. That's literally what the fuck I said. And this is from an actual games developer. Because that's exactly what people did. If you look at any of the gameplay or any of the experiences with Doom the Dark Ages, that's literally what anyone did. Turn the speed of the game up. Fucking increase the values for resource drops. I can't remember what else they did, but you get the point. Like, they were literally just playing with sliders because there was no real balancing of the game. Like, they literally had to release a patch to make the game harder because it was too easy at launch. Because the standard settings for the sliders even on Nightmare, were piss easy. Another aspect of Halo Campaign Evolved that Gressimer has taken issue with is the addition of an optional infinite sprint button. Sprint seems to be the biggest talking point about Halo Campaign Evolved. While you can choose not to sprint, some are saying using it destroys Halo Combat Evolved's classic considered gameplay pace. Oh, that comma's not supposed to be there. Classic considered gameplay pace, and thus its sense of wonder. Others say believe it's my God. Others say they believe it's essential for the fun factor. I don't know, man. Here's the thing. I completely understand the argument that people are giving for Halo not having sprint, because not every game has to be the same. And I'm never going to argue with an OG fan of anything because I fucking get it. I'm not an OG fan of Halo, but I do remember that Halo 3 didn't have sprint. But that's the thing, right? I didn't play Halo 1 and 2 because I wasn't old enough to experience the original Xbox Live experience for Halo Combat Evolved. I just wasn't. Or Halo 2 for that matter. Or if I was, I didn't have any money to buy them any fucking way. So I get it. So I'm never going to say any fan of anything older than me, basically. Well, actually, Halo's not older than me, I don't think. It's not. But you get the point. I'm never going to argue with him. Because, like, I always asked why every game had to have certain mechanics. Especially when every shooter at the time at a certain point was trying to be Call of Duty. Like, when they released the latest Duke Nukem game, I always wondered why we were locked to having only 2 weapons, when classically in Duke Nukem, I don't even know how many fucking weapons you can carry. The point is, you could carry more than 2 of them bitches. Like, you had a legit weapon wheel. So, like, I forgot what the fuck the latest Duke Nukem was, but that always annoyed me, right? Like, they tried to copy the formula of Call of Duty because everything was trying to be Call of Duty. And then after that, everything was trying to be Titanfall, but that's a different fucking discussion. And it's like, why can't games just be different? Why can't they be experimental? Because there was no reason for them to lock the weapon choices to 2 guns in the Duke Nukem game. What the fuck? Let me look this shit up, because I'm tired of calling it the latest Duke Nukem game. Was it Duke Nukem Forever? I'm stopping the stream to look this shit up. Yeah, it was Duke Nukem Forever in 2011. I want to say. Because the game opens up with him being with, like, twins, like 2 chicks who are twins. And I think he's the president or some shit. Or maybe he's helping the president. I don't remember. But you get the point. Games don't have to have the same fucking mechanics, even if they are in the same genre. So I understand the gripe. Of course, having a consistent walk speed instead of sprint with Halo would change the game a little bit, because you can't quickly get out of combat situations. The twins were the only good thing about the game. Damn. I mean, I saw gameplay of it. I didn't think it was that bad, but I didn't play it, so I can't say shit. That was another one of those times where I was too young to buy shit for myself in 2011. I think I was still in high school in fucking 2011. Oh, that's what it was. I think the reason why I didn't get it is because it tried too hard to be Call of Duty and not hard enough to be Duke Nukem. That's why. Like, regardless of how people felt about the writing or whatever the fuck, if I could carry like 8 guns, I would have still bought the shit, or at least asked for it. You know what I mean? Should Halo Campaign Evolved have a sprint button? I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to side with the fans every time. I'm going to say no. Because Halo doesn't have to have sprint to be good. Don't get me wrong. When I got introduced to Halo having sprint in Halo 4, but that's because, like I said, I'm not an OG Halo fan. And the only Halo I played that didn't have sprint was Halo 3. So, like, obviously, me spending less time overall with the Halo franchise is going to make me a bit more open-minded because I don't have as intricate a compass for how the game should feel as somebody who has spent way longer playing Halo 1 and then Halo 2 and then Halo 3 and probably all the other extended Halo games as well. So, like, I'm going to side with the fans and say no because I trust their judgment that it gives Halo a different feel. I'm going to say no. And I say no because it doesn't have to have sprint. It just doesn't. What rule says Halo has to have sprint? Or what rule says any first-person shooter has to have sprint? What? Because Call of Duty fucking did it? Know what I mean? Halo Campaign Evolves Needler. Oh, so they're going to bring this up. Halo Campaign Evolves Needler 2 has caused quite the kerfuffle. The iconic Halo weapon shoots deadly needles into an enemy. Then after a cool-sounding charge, they explode. Yeah, because you have to stick them with enough needles. The needler stands out because the ammo, the needles, themselves stick out of the top of the gun. So you can easily see how much ammo you have at any given moment. So even IGN admits you can easily see how much ammo you have at any given moment. By the way, that's what made the needler somewhat of a skill-based weapon because I know it was fucking strong. But you still had to know how much ammo you were actually using and how much you had left. It wasn't even really like a numbers-based thing. It was more of a different way of a percentage type thing. You know what I mean? Because like you had a rough estimate of how many needles you had left. And that's why the needler was so cool. I don't know if they actually made it so that you could dual wield needlers. If they did, that'd be fucking cool. And I missed out. If it actually came to pass, I fucking missed out and I admit it. I would have loved dual wielding needlers. That shit sounds broken, but it sounds fun as shit. Anyway. Still, Microsoft saw fit to add an ammo counter on the needler just in case. Why though? Like why? This is my thing. Why are games companies now so afraid to make motherfuckers learn? I just don't get it. And people wonder why those like me think there's some campaign to remove challenge from gaming because there fucking is, and people were very vocal about it. And they still are at a certain point in time. All games need an easy mode. You know what I mean? The inclusion bullshit. Like, this is what that breeds. Putting a fucking ammo counter that doesn't even really count the ammo for you on the back of the needler. Like, what the fuck is the point of this? It's effectively the same exact... It performs the same fucking function as just looking at the needles from the top of the gun. Same shit. As a matter of fact, it might even be worse because now there's a definite number if you fucking cared to count these shits out, which I don't. It's just stupid. Let me see. Where was I? This change has drawn some ridicule online, and Grissomer is clearly not a fan. By far the most comically unnecessary embellishment in the whole announcement, he said. I'm not sure it isn't intentional satire. But why would you add an ammo counter to a weapon that is an ammo counter in the first place? Who knows? Who fucking knows? In response to Grissomer's original, now viral tweet on Halo Campaign Evolved, one user accused the veteran designer of crying about nostalgia, to which he responded, because I made it right and they are breaking it for no reason. So let me get this fucking straight. I'm basically the original lead designer of a popular video game that you motherfuckers are remaking, and I'm crying whenever I have an opinion. Oh boy. Twitter will never cease to amaze me. He continued, I think there are dozens of changes. Reload speeds, no health packs. No health packs. That sounds silly to me, and I don't even know the full context. It just sounds silly. Falling damage, etc. That no fall damage, or is falling damage changed? Okay, I'm assuming that means falling damage changed somehow, etc. That make the game slicker, but ultimately less interesting. Oh, I know exactly what the fuck he's talking about. I've had that experience with games before, where like certain things feel more seamless, but it fucks up the flow of what you're trying to do. A good example to me of this, and this, of course, this is from a fucking fighting game, is when they made a popular combo done by Super Saiyan Goku automatic. So, like, Super Saiyan Goku has a combo where he has his air level 1 Kamehameha, right? So, it's the air level 1 Super Kamehameha. So, you do your air combo, and the combo ender is okay, so it's a multi-directional Kamehameha. So you can do level 1 and you can aim it up, you can aim it forward, you can aim it down. At the end of your air combo, you aim it down, but he also has a different version where he does the warp Kamehameha and meets you wherever you're flying toward on the screen and hits you with that one. So what people used to do is do the downward Kamehameha at the end of the combo, and then you had to have like you had to time it in order to do the second super. Otherwise, it wouldn't fucking work. So obviously, it took skill, right? But then they added a patch where you could literally just hold down the trigger after the downward Kamehameha, and it would do the warp Kamehameha for you. So it just fucking, it just made the character less interesting to play. Like, I didn't even want to play him after that because he essentially played his fucking self. Like, his main, most high damaging combo that you actually had to, you know, time perfectly to use, now you can just, like, a monkey could fucking do it. So it just made the character less interesting to play. And shit like that for fighting games especially is, like, extremely volatile. Like, you change one thing about a character, you might think it's minor, and it'll break the entire experience. But so I know exactly the type of thing he's describing here. You think those small changes don't mean shit until you play it. Especially if you're somebody who's actually fluent in how the game is supposed to work. Anyway, after Bungie left Halo behind to develop Destiny, Microsoft, via what was known as 343 Industries, continued the franchise with Halo 4, Halo 5 Guardians, and 2021's Halo Infinite. The internet would suggest that with these games, Microsoft has struggled to recreate the Bungie magic, for want of a better term. Certainly, Bungie's Halo games are more fondly remembered than Microsoft's. But why has Microsoft struggled so? Gressimer was asked this question, and in his response revealed his thoughts on the idea of remaking Halo and continuing to make new Halo games now, nearly 25 years after Combat Evolved came out. Yeah, this shit should have been ended. Smarter developers from yesteryear would be like, yeah, man, it's time to end this and make something else. Nah, not them. Like, literally, I don't mean make one new thing. I mean make a whole batch of new shit. Like, it's time for like 5 more new flagship shits to come out, but they're not doing that. Why? Who knows? It's not the early 2000s anymore, he said. Halo is of its time, maybe more than any other game franchise. So they are constantly trying to either take Halo out of 2001 and modernize it, which breaks it, or take players back to 2001 with nostalgia, which is impossible. Exactly. This is why shit needs to end. No matter how much you love some shit, it's got to end. At some point, The story has to end. The franchise has to end, and you have to move on to something else. That's how you go out on top instead of crashing and fucking burning. All right, so this next post is going to be from Kill Me on Twitter. Aside from that thing, what are your thoughts on this game, and what advice would you give to the devs making it? Keep getting them checks. Remakes and remasters are soul destroying, and I feel for any dev working on one. They can't win, and even if they do, they won't get credit. Bad situation unless you are getting paid money. Hey, what else are you supposed to do, right? The industry is in it. Every industry that deals with art and entertainment is in the shitter right now. And here's the thing about developers. That shit is its own art form. Like, even the coding side is its own art form. Because here's the thing. You have to work closely with the people designing the maps, with the people, shit, even with the art team, to make sure certain things work the way they're intended to work. And that's what brought games developers joy, was to see every part of the project come together. But now, instead of making something new and exciting, you're digging up corpses from the 90s and early 2000s. What a time to be alive. Instigator 92. Do you think Halo, with the classic style of movement being no sprint, would still do well in today's market? That's another thing. Why wouldn't it? You know what I mean? One, why wouldn't it? Two, find your fucking audience. That's the problem. Excuse me. That's the problem with things that are being put out now. They're trying to impress everybody. They're not trying to reach a particular demographic. They're trying to get everyone, and that shit is impossible. Like, the concept of a target audience is basically dead right now. Okay. I just read your comments about Duke Nukem Forever, Alan. Yeah, a 15-year wait for absolutely nothing, right? Yeah. Honestly, I think the game would have done better if it just stuck to its own formula instead of trying to be other shooters. Oh, also, it also disrespected Halo and Doom and Metroid. Basically, every shooter that features power armor. So I'm not gonna lie. Maybe the game deserved to fail on that metric alone. You don't shit talk Halo, or Doom, or Metroid. You just don't. Why? It was that the power armor is for pussies thing. Like, it was just uncalled for. Two legends can coexist. That's the thing, Rudy. From Software made Elden Ring because they wanted to be able to make Dark Souls 4, but they wanted it to be different enough to where it wasn't just a carbon copy. They actually tried to do something all new with it. They wanted to write the most ambitious love letter to the Souls formula they possibly could through like a different type of lens. The different lens being a different world, a different story. You know what I mean? Not a different gameplay formula necessarily outside of the open world aspects, which I think served the game. I don't care what anyone says. I think open world was the next step for Souls. And I think they nailed it. I don't care what anyone says. I know there's a bunch of fucking Elden Ring hate. I don't give a shit. I liked the open world aspect of Elden Ring. I think they could have done a little bit more with it. Like, you know, more mounts. I would have liked more mounts. Being able to customize your horse, maybe. Uh, maybe a few more NPCs. Maybe give us at least one living settlement. You know what I mean? Because they did that with Dark Souls 3 where you had like the NPC hub world. I would have liked that. I know they had the round table hold, but I meant like an actual like town would have been cool. Like the last city type thing. I think that would have been dope. That might have been the only thing that was missing to me. Because like I mean, people expect the Souls formula to not be like a dark fantasy thing. I don't get it. Like they want the entire world to be alive and vibrant, but then what's the conflict? Like the Dark Souls isn't Dragon's Dogma. You know? But yeah. Remakes and remasters for me feel like something that require a generational divide where I never touch those games. They're the consoles that, I mean, yeah, that's originally what remakes and remasters were for. Like after 30 years in the vault, we're bringing it back in a collection of all 120, whatever the fuck. That used to be what people did. Like, you know, it's been 3 console generations. Let's bring this shit back for the youngins. Now, it's every other year, a new remake, a new remaster. The same game will be remade and remastered 4 fucking times. 4 times. What the fuck did they do with The Last of Us 1 and The Last of Us 2, right? Like, not even a full console generation passed, and they're remaking or remastering the game again. They did the same with Dead Rising. I know it's been a while since they remastered Dead Rising again, but you get the point. What the fuck is the point of getting the Dead Rising remake when the Dead Rising HD remaster still exists? Like the original remasters still exist. Why the fuck would I buy this new one with shittier graphics? Why? And shittier everything else too, because the Dead Rising remake was like a worse product overall than the original or the HD remaster. Why? But yeah, like the remake, remaster shit. I want more devs to speak out about this shit, to be honest. I want more devs to speak out about it and then get together and make their own studio and make a good game. That's what I want more than anything. Devs who still have a soul to make their own fucking studio and make a new game. A new game, a new IP. God damn it, bro. People keep crying about Risk. Like, bullshit, dude. I swear to God, you put Capcom's name on anything, it will sell. I don't give a fuck. That shit is not real, bro. I don't care. Put that classic Capcom logo on anything. It will sell. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. My bad. I'm trying to find my place. Oh, that's where I left off. Shit, my bad. Let me just reread Instigator 92's comment. Do you think Halo with the classic style of movement being no sprint would still do well in today's market? I feel like it would, and that this is when Halo was at its strongest. Now that the multiplayer experiences we've had with 4 and on can't hold a population whatsoever. Grissomer said, probably not, but I'm not sure what the point is of a remake anyway. Nostalgia? A new generation of fans? Occupying an enormous art team while you figure out what to do? Exactly. Is there anything you do like about this announcement? Gressimer said, they kept the music and the AI the same, it looks like. I'm glad I can play it on a Sony system. Damn. That's it. One member of the original Halo team who sounds thrilled with Halo Campaign Evolved is Marcus Leto, who was the art director on Combat Evolved, and thus heavily involved in the iconic look of Halo itself. And therefore, he would have a much less informed opinion / much less, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess heartfelt works opinion about how the actual map making and gameplay portions of the game turned out. Like, if you're the guy who does the aesthetics, it's hard for me to believe you would understand why mechanics changing, certain terrain on the maps changing, removal of certain items or game skips. It's hard for me to believe that you would understand why the removal of those things would motivate someone to have negative critique. You know what I mean? Like, you're the guy who did the artwork and nothing else. It's hard for me to trust your opinion fully when you're not in the guts of the fucking project. You're just kind of painting. Like, you're the guy who painted the race car. You're not the guy that built it. You know what I mean? It's like, tell me you fucking get it. Leto, who recently left the now shuttered Battlefield 6 developer Ridgeline Games and hit out at EA for no property credited former staff, offered a positive assessment of Halo Studios' work. My honest impression of seeing the new Halo campaign evolved is this. I absolutely love where this is going. The game looks and feels genuine. It's gorgeous in a way I wish we could have built it originally back in 2001. It warms my heart to see Halo CE like this. I mean, it seems like he leaned more on the aesthetic parts than anything. The feels genuine part just feels like he was just kind of yapping right there. Like, how does he know it feels genuine? Anyway, I'm gonna take his opinion with a grain of salt because he didn't program anything or make a map or anything. He didn't design anything. You know what I mean? He was just like the aesthetics guy. He didn't put the rocks in the way so that you couldn't get your warthog through. You know what I mean? Halo Campaign Evolved isn't out until 2026 and probably near the game's 25th anniversary in November. So Halo Studios has time to react to some of the feedback it's seen and make changes. I doubt it. I doubt they will. If that's what it wants to do, of course. It may stick to its guns on the likes of Sprint, those rocks, and the Needler's ammo counter. Meanwhile, the Halo community continues to debate the changes, fussing over every detail and what it means for the tone, feel, and gameplay of Bungie's seminal shooter. I suspect this will be a running theme well into 2026. I think this shit is going to lose steam. Excuse me. I think the meat of the discussion is happening right now. I don't foresee anyone having such in-depth talks by the time the game's out. I just don't. Things like this burn bright and then they fizzle out. I mean, that's the thing, Rudy. Game Pass is one of the biggest contributors to their death. Because here's the thing. Actually, let me retract that a little bit. Because I find it hard to believe that if you were releasing a bunch of heat, like a bunch of fire-ass games, that people would just be getting them shits on Game Pass. No, like if something's genuinely good, you want to own it. Because here's the thing. How many people play Silksong on Game Pass? Genuinely. Did they release those numbers? Because I remember seeing 500, I remember seeing 500,000 concurrent players on that shit day one. Because here's the thing. I believe making a catalog of good games would beat the Game Pass problem. I really think that people are only abusing Game Pass because what they've been putting out has been garbage. Genuinely, I believe that. Also, they keep trying to raise the prices to stupid shit like $80. That certainly doesn't help. I don't give a fuck how good the game is. I'm not paying $80 for a standard edition of shit. And if I do pay $80, it better come with something other than some digital shit. You didn't miss too much. We just talked about Jamie Grissomer's opinion on Halo CE and the sprint debate and everything. Which, by the way, I'm going to do a greater video about the games discourse involving game development and the discourse surrounding it, because some funny things are happening in that discourse. I alluded to it in the server a couple times because it's just kind of annoying being early to the party all the time and seeing people finally understand why certain things were dumb the entire fucking time. It's just annoying. Being told that you're overreacting to shit only for that same shit to come to pass. And they look just like you did earlier. It's insane to me. Like, suddenly you're making the same exact arguments I was making, but at the time, I was overreacting. Anyway, I'm not bitter. Let's read some of the comments. Final Fantasy 99. People that haven't played old games do not have nostalgia that lets them overlook dated systems, graphics, and performance. Even I have a hard time playing a lot of older games because I am used to the modern quality of life features. I don't believe that shit. I never had a problem playing old games, especially arcade games, because here's the advantage that a lot of older games have over newer ones. They're fucking timeless because their graphics are stylized and not cutting edge all the fucking time. Like, they have hand-drawn shit, hand-crafted pixel art and shit. And obviously I'm not talking about early 8-bit games and early polygon games. Some of those actually are hard as fuck to look at. Like, they're just ugly. On top of being hard to play because the controls are shit. I understand those games exist. Not every old game is good, but there are some really good old games. Like top tier old games. Like old era Capcom and SNK and Namco and all of them. Sega, all of them. Those are usually really good old games. Really good. So I don't know what the fuck this dude's talking about. If something, but even Resident Evil 2, like Resident Evil 2 looked like ass, but guess what? It was fun. Resident Evil 3 looked like ass, but it was fun. So graphics aren't everything. Quality of life features are not everything. Especially in the case of Resident Evil. Because there was very little quality of life in that shit. What do you mean, Alan? I agree with that take. Art style will always beat graphics. I always say that. That's what I was saying. I was just leaving the door open for the fact that there are games that look like shit and play like ass, but there's also games that look like shit and play very well. Like, I'm like, the graphic, like, listen, if the game's fun, I don't give a fuck about the graphics. I don't give a shit. Rudy, that's the thing, though. It's very rare that somebody does a good well, you said remake, not remaster. well, I'll make this point instead. It's very rare that a game needs to be remade, first off. Like, you never see them doing a remake for a game that people think is universally shit. It's always a game that's like the Mona Lisa. We have to remake the Mona Lisa for a modern audience. Nah, it's not a trash game they remake. It's a game everyone agrees is a certified hood classic, 10 out of 10. Every single time. We don't have redemption arcs in the gaming industry. We just have rehashes. Stupid. What I was about to say is for some reason it's very rare that they make a good remaster. Like, there's been some really good remasters to the point where, like, the remaster is superior to the original. For some reason, with all this technological advancement and talent and all this other blah, 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 for some reason, these motherfuckers can't figure out how to make a superior remaster. It doesn't make any fucking sense. We have all of this shit. How? How have you been fucking this up for so long? You have every single advantage to outdo the original, and you just fuck it up every single time. You snatch defeat from the jaws of victory every single time. Couldn't hit the ground with your ass cheeks. I don't get it. You have to be talented to fail this hard. That shit takes solid work ethic. The last part of his comment was, let me reread the whole thing. Final Fantasy 99 says, people that haven't played old games do not have nostalgia that lets them overlook dated systems, graphics, and performance. Again, I think that shit is an excuse. Anyway, even I have a hard time playing a lot of older games because I am used to the modern quality of life features. So it really shouldn't be a surprise when a remake or remaster makes adjustments to make the game more appealing to a modern audience. It's like they didn't even read the article. Like, this is like one of the most tone-deaf comments I've ever read. Nothing that was mentioned in that article indicated systems that were outdated. He straight up cited the way he designed a map, the way he crafted encounters. Like, actual game techniques that players would use to have a good time or skip sections and shit. In what way how did he get outdated systems and performance out of that? How did he get nostalgia out of that? Like, you can't just look at something that somebody describes, they tell you why it was good, why it should have been left in the game, and just go, nostalgia. That's stupid. Anyway, Greed 1914 replies with, yeah, this is true. Sprinting is a good example here. Oh, God. New customers are going to expect it because it has been a thing in FPS games for a long time now. And see, here's the thing, right? Whenever you want a new game to feature, whenever you want a new game that features classically held mechanics to be in a game, they'll tell you to go play the old shit, right? Like, if you want a classic 6-button fighter with an actual skill ceiling, they'll be like, oh, go play the old shit. Why can't you just tell the people who want sprint to go play a game that has sprint? Like, that's never fucking acceptable. You always have to change the old shit to appeal to the new people while telling the OG people to go play the old shit. But you can never invert that. It's fucking annoying. Oh boy. You're just plain going to hear it as a negative if it isn't there, regardless of whether the levels were originally designed for it. Well, then you're not a person who's open to new experiences. You're just somebody who wants cookie cutter copy paste shit, which is funny because everyone complains about everything trying to be Call of Duty and Titanfall, but then they'll hear This game doesn't have sprint, and then they'll fucking ignore it. That being said, it's a good thing the game's Halo. So chances are motherfuckers would have still bought it. Having it as a toggle was a good call. If you don't want it, it's gone. But they want to sell it to people who never played Halo in the first place. I mean, that's the thing. They're not going to get the same experience. Like, people who turn sprint on are essentially playing a different fucking game. And therein lies the problem. Sure, there are audiences for new games that feel old, but it's the kind of thing you do if you're not trying to aim as wide as possible. Stop doing that shit. That's what I don't like. Stop trying to aim as wide as possible. We didn't get to where we are. Well, shit. We did get to where we are now by aiming as wide as possible. We didn't reach the golden age of this medium by aiming as wide as possible. How we reached that point is by having variety. That's why when you walked into an arcade, there was different types of fucking games to play. Different genres, different styles. We reached the point of the golden age through variety, through aiming for specific audiences. Sometimes you'd form a genre and you'd have fucking a Venn diagram of people who like this game and that game, but you get the fucking point. How have they fucked up the formula this bad? It doesn't make any sense. Why are you encouraging people to aim as wide as possible? Stop that shit. Stop trying to capture everybody. It's never gonna happen. I think his name is Ajuko. I tried to go back and play Fallout New Vegas again, and wow, without sprinting, it takes a long time to get anywhere. Well, that's because your agility stat is low, first off. Second off, I enjoyed I enjoyed Fallout New Vegas with no sprint because I had the radio. I could listen to New Vegas radio for fucking hours. In fact, I did. I did. And for the record, it really doesn't take that long to get anywhere. And even if it did, there's so much shit breaking up the monotony of the journey, it doesn't matter. Like, there's so much shit. There's so many random encounters. Shaolin Intruder. This is what a lot of people don't understand. They're trying to sell the most units they can. I play the original and I'm thrilled to try out this new version as well, but let's not pretend that offering the original to someone in their early 20s who doesn't have that nostalgic feeling from back in the day is going to enjoy it. What? Wait a minute. Hang on. Hey, wait a second. Why do people think they can speak retroactively for individuals? Like, because it doesn't make any sense, right? Halo was a new game that nobody ever played before at one point. Why are you so sure that giving them the original form of a game they've never fucking played isn't going to do well for them? Like, isn't going to appeal to them? It doesn't make any sense. Like, they think of the customer as like this pig who just eats anything and rejects anything new. Like, all they eat is slop. And anything that deviates even slightly, they'll just ignore it. That's never been how gamers are. How come when you introduced Halo to the people back then who had never played a game like Halo ever before, they enjoyed it, but you couldn't do the same thing with somebody from 2025 who has never experienced it? It really doesn't make any sense. Like, they're assuming this is going to be the case for the majority of people. Don't understand that shit. They act like nostalgia is like... This comment is written as if nostalgia is like something that just happens instantly. And that's not how it works. At one point in time, the people who have nostalgia played the game for the first fucking time. I don't know. They're not trying to cater to one crowd or another. They're trying to sell games. That's what they were trying to do when the original Halo released. They were trying to sell games. They made the most fun first-person shooter they could think of, and they just sold it to the public. I doubt they had any idea who the fuck they would attract by making Halo and not having sprint outside of people who liked first-person shooters, because first-person shooter was a genre already. Like, it was a very general shot at a specific genre, but not necessarily a specific group of people, because it was a different game altogether. Like, there were other first-person shooters, and there were probably other first-person shooters that had mechanics like sprint, but Halo didn't. Matter of fact, if I can verify that games in the 2000s had the sprint feature, first-person shooters specifically, then this entire argument is a fucking nothing burger. I'm looking it up right now. FPSs with sprint from 2001. Oh, that's Grand Theft Auto 3. That's not what I'm looking for. Sprint mechanic is commonly known today in modern military shooters, gained significant popularity and widespread adoption in the mid-2000s, particularly with the Call of Duty series around Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare in 2007. So what? The first introduction of sprint was in 2007? I might have to do more research on that. Because I know Unreal Tournament didn't have sprint. I played that shit. It didn't have sprint. I'll research that on my own time. And potentially this comment in particular might make it in a video I'm playing, because I do want to address it. Matter of fact, let me crop this comment out, because I don't like the amount of assumptions being made to justify making everything a homogenous gray blob. That shit is annoying to me. The young people won't like it. You don't fucking know that. Exactly. I've never had or even played an Xbox, as I've always been a PlayStation, Nintendo guy, but I've been someone interested in trying a Halo game, and for me, this is the perfect opportunity, as I want to experience something that carries the overall spirit of the original, but is fully modernized to not feel dated. It doesn't carry the overall spirit because it introduces mechanics that weren't in the original. I still can get enjoyment out of remasters of old games that keep the updates minimal, such as the recent Tomb Raider games, but I almost always prefer the full remake treatment, as these older games can feel a bit rough, even for someone like me that grew up playing on PS1. I'm just very used to the way games play now, and it's hard to go back to the style of play from the early generations of 3D games. You motherfuckers just don't like to try. I don't know, man. It just seems to me that people are just spoiled and don't want to get out of their fucking comfort zone. Up, TikTok monster clock. I've been saying this for years. Actual game design has been undervalued and almost non-existent in the industry. It's why most all AAA games are just endlessly repeating what was done previously, i.e. sprint in every first-person shooter ever. And why these kinds of, not just sprint, but other mechanics as well, because like I said, everybody was trying to be Titanfall at one point, and they fucking bit off the wall run feature. Call of Duty actually bit the wall run feature. And why these kinds of obvious mistakes happen in remasters/remakes. It should be obvious that the Needler doesn't need an ammo counter, that rocks were placed for good reason to block the path and make a clear this is meant to be done on foot, even if you could technically force the Warthog in a lot of these areas. And why obvious things like the woohoo jump were all just jammed around. It might seem petty, but the context is a game designer frustrated at the near total lack of somebody taking note or even bothering to do the same game design part or even try to understand the obvious design choices of the original. Or, consult him on why he did things, which I doubt happened. A remake doesn't need to be one-to-one with the OG. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is the reason why I think we need to come to an agreement on what remake and remaster means, because that shit does not look like a remake, especially with the way they talk about how they're trying to preserve most of the experience. That shit doesn't sound like a remake. It sounds like a remaster, where it has graphic fidelity improvements and certain quality of life tweaks, and that's it. That shit does not sound like a remake at all. When I think remake, I think Resident Evil 2 remake, because that was an actual remake where they changed significant portions of the game down to the mechanics. Like, there's no fixed cameras. Scenarios are different. This shit is not a remake. The Halo campaign of that shit is not a remake. It's a remaster. It's misnamed. So he's right. Remakes don't need to be one-to-one. Remasters should be one-to-one. And since this game is basically a remaster, I'm going to disagree, because this shit should have definitely been one-to-one. And if they were going to do, okay, it should have just been a port, to be honest. They should have just ported the shit. That's what they should have done. They should have just ported it. But anyway, a remake doesn't need to be one-to-one with the OG, but it should at least understand and capture what made the OG the OG. But in this case, it definitely feels like a lack of understanding / thought on why the game was designed the way it was. With that said, this is clearly very early. See what the fuck I mean? With that said, this is clearly very early footage. Bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. Most of the time when they show you the beta or the fucking the early footage, that's what, like, they've already finished the game. Most of the time when they do shit like that, they've already finished the fucking game, and they're just making you wait for it. Like, how many fucking times has it happened where you played a beta and you get the full game and it's exactly like the fucking beta? Like, literally, Destiny 1 dropped. Well, first of all, they released the fucking beta test with the Sidonia, that green auto rifle being like the best gun in the beta for PvP. They dropped that shit, and like they gave us like the first part of the game or whatever, and then you get the full game. It was damn near fucking identical. It was damn near fucking identical. Outside of the fact that obviously it's the full game, so they put all the guns in and all the random drops and shit. But they virtually changed nothing. Like, we've witnessed this shit before, and people still want to hold out for, oh, it's early footage. Oh, it's still a beta. Like, bro, fuck that. This is clearly late stages of development, bro. Stop it. When the game's ready to play, it's in late stages of development, bro. A lot of these nitpicks can be changed for release. They're not changing shit. They're not changing it. Reminds me of the Dead Space remake. The OG took so much care to immerse you in the experience, making everything up to your map, health, and ammo a diegetic part of the world. So, of course, the geniuses remaking it decide to add button prompts to the doors. I cannot possibly understand who thought that would improve the overall experience. Oh, well, they were too busy trying to reduce breast size of the hot female characters and put gender-neutral bathrooms on the ship with the murderous alien parasites. So, yeah, there's that. This is something I've noticed across all of 343's Halo games. They just don't understand level design or the core gameplay loop that made Halo special. There's a lot that goes into crafting a campaign map. Play any of the Bungie games and you'll notice that enemy encounters were always carefully curated. If you ran into a pair of hunters, you could bet that the developers hid a rocket launcher or a Spartan laser somewhere nearby. You just had to look for it. Every enemy type had distinct strengths and weaknesses. But wait, I'm going to pause here for a second. Apparently, the Magnum was programmed in such a way that if you were really good and could land 2 headshots on the hunters, you would kill them like very quickly. I think I read that from Gressimer. And that's a very cool thing that they put in because it's very similar to what they did with Resident Evil and the knife. If you use the knife on certain bosses, it does like critical damage or something. Or anyway, the point is, developers do this subversive trick where they make the weak weapon like super effective against strong enemies. And it's because it's counterintuitive, obviously. Like you would never try to knife a boss enemy in Resident Evil. And you would never try to use the fucking pistol on a hunter. But they put that in there as a treat for people who are brave enough to try. And I like stuff like that. Anyway, every enemy type had distinct strengths and weaknesses, and you weren't just given a single weapon that could mow them all down. Looking at you, Saw. Okay, I can see why people would have a gripe at that, because the Saw was really fucking strong. Excuse me. 343, on the other hand, introduced teleporting enemies as a cheap way to add something novel, but never designed the levels in such a way to make them engaging. Excuse me. The only truly interesting new enemy type were the Watchers and their ability to catch and throw back grenades. Yeah, they were cool. But even they were laughably weak and easy to kill. They drained nearly all of the strategy out of Halo and turned it into a brain-dead shoot-'em-up. Not blocking the Warthog from running over the Hunters is such a classic 343 move. I don't have a problem with this remake existing. I fucking do. On principle. Stop rehashing old shit and make something new. But I don't trust 343 to redesign anything. Leave everything as is and just make it look pretty. You're just not that guy. I mean, but then it would be a remaster. They couldn't call it a remake. They already can't call it a remake, but you get my fucking point. I feel ever since 343 took over, Halo has basically chased other fads, and it doesn't feel like Halo. Halo 4, sprinting and vault. Halo 5, loot boxes. Halo Infinite, open world battle royale, etc. All right, listen here. I know why people don't like Halo 4. I liked Halo 4. And like I said, it's most likely due to the fact that I didn't have as much time with the franchise. But I enjoyed Halo 4 a lot. I mean, a lot. But anyway. Open world, battle royale, etc. That's another thing that needs to die. Every game doesn't have to have a battle royale, open world, Fortnite shit. It's clear that the whole arena combat FPS, which is what Halo 1 through 3 were, needs to be updated. That's another thing, right? For some odd fucking reason, shooters nowadays, no matter what it is, Apex, Fortnite, fucking, what else? I'm missing something. Anyway, they seem to be deathly afraid of a dedicated team deathmatch feature that you can just go and do, like a quick play, like some hero shooter I'm thinking of too. I can't remember. Maybe not, actually. But you get the point. I think it's mostly those open world battle royale shooters that are deathly afraid to just have a regular team deathmatch. I don't know why. Like, for some reason, they'll do something where it's like every other week it's revolving when they know damn well that's probably the thing most people want to play, just TDM, and they just won't include the shit as a permanent function, like a perpetual function. And it frustrates the shit out of anyone who actually plays shooters to the point where it's like, man, you're going to make me go play Call of Duty again, even though I'm fucking tired of that game. Every other shooter is pretty much shit. Or at the time, you know, if they didn't have Xbox, they would only be playing on PlayStation. So they're pretty much their only other outlet was Call of Duty because Battlefield was also shit at the time. You get the point. Like, they couldn't get their TDM fixed. Like, they couldn't hop in a lobby and just drop 20 like they wanted to. Like, I would see that frustration a lot. Maybe I'll read a couple more comments and then wrap it up. I just don't agree with these people that if you made a remake, or not a remake, if you made a remaster of an old game that people wouldn't want to play it. I just don't understand that shit. I don't agree with it. I believe if they made a faithful remaster of Halo 1, Halo Combat Evolved, and just like did the, you know, Demon Souls remake, right? That shit it's basically a remaster type shit. If they did something like that with Halo Combat Evolved, I really don't think that people would have a problem with it. I don't. I really don't. I don't see anyone having a problem with it because, first of all, they know it's a game that came out in 2001. It just has updated graphics. Like, the game is clearly meant to be played a certain way. Let me look up whether or not Darkwatch had Sprint. Because I played that game. Not on Xbox Live, but I played that game. Okay, no, not even that game had Sprint. Excuse me. There's a brand of gamer that cries soulless at any remake or remaster. Some at any AAA game, and so it goes. I don't get it. It's a bit narrow, and I'd rather criticize things individually. To each their own. That's exactly what people are doing, though. And I don't know. Like, I don't believe him when he says this, but this is his own personal experience, so I'll just leave it alone. I think this is essentially just that, albeit a bit different since the guy made the original. If they did everything the same, it'd be a remaster. Yeah. Yeah, it would be. And perhaps that would be better than trying to repaint the fucking Mona Lisa. Which they've already done. Yeah, so do something else. Maybe leave Halo the fuck alone and make something else. Well, they have to do something different with it, or, you know, they could do nothing with it. How about that? So it's gonna be different and better to wait and fucking see. So it's gonna be different and better to wait and see. It might even do it better. I'm done. This is some bottom of the barrel straw grasping here. It's not exactly George Lucas re-editing and making the originals nearly extinct. There's still the MCC, the original, and the remake. Let's call it what it is, and that's a nerdy tantrum. Oh boy. Without him, you wouldn't know what the fuck Halo was, but he's throwing a nerdy tantrum. You see how motherfuckers don't pay respect? You say that, yeah, there's a reason why modern Halos are struggling. Modern devs keep removing poop like this, which is why poop like this, which is what made Halo special in the first place. Halo was great because you are a badass Spartan. Dominating areas with vehicles takes that away. This is going to ruin the Halo experience, and many young gamers' experience with Halo will be ruined by this. They won't understand why this was popular. It would be like the GoldenEye remake in 2010 for the Wii. That removed everything that people loved about GoldenEye, and it failed miserably. I mean, they do it every time, especially including with games like the Resident Evil 4 remake. They removed everything that made the original charming and sold it to you for $60 fucking dollars, or however many, 70, 80, whatever, however much it cost. It's the campaign. They already took out what made Halo special in the first place. Jesus Christ. Yeah, the multiplayer made Halo special, but also the campaign, dumbass. Like, Halo was great because of Xbox Connect forums, 4-player local MP after school, LAN parties, etc. The furthest thing it was known for at its peak was the campaign. The campaign was the selling point for Halo 1, 2, and 3. Having great multiplayer was just a bonus. I mean, this is... Anyway. That person is just... What's the word? Deflecting? I think that's what they're doing. They're deflecting away from actual criticism of the game by saying, oh, they already removed what made Halo special. But who cares if you think that the multiplayer is what made Halo special? People are complaining about the campaign. Why don't you address that? So it's okay that they're fucking up the campaign because, oh, they already fucked up something else / removed it? No, that's fucking silly. I mean, exactly, Rudy. The game is old. The novelty of that on its own should be enough of a reason to want to play it. You're experiencing something from a bygone era. That's literally the lens it should be sold from. But they don't sell remakes or they don't sell remasters from that lens anymore. Anyway. I think an hour, 36 minutes is more than enough to cover the topic I wanted to. Wait, hang on. Did I miss? I want to see if I missed anything that I was supposed to cover from the last stream. Give me a second. Because I still have the tab. Still have the tab. Okay, so I covered GameStop, console wars, the memes from ICE in the White House, the Pal World dispute. I read that. Can you guys remember whether or not I read about EA's buyout? Did I ever get to EA's buyout? Okay, in case I didn't cover it, I'll read the article regarding EA's buyout. Cause yeah, let me do that. Yeah, because we were supposed to talk about that. So this next one is going to be coming from AP News. I'll cover it and then I'll end the stream, which probably means it's going to go to 2 hours flat. Video gamer, video gamer. Video gamer Electronic Arts to be bought in the largest ever private equity buyout valued at $55 billion. Holy shit. Electronic Arts, the maker of video games like Madden NFL, Battlefield, and The Sims, is being acquired by an investor group including Saudi Arabia's Sovereign Wealth Fund in the largest private equity funded buyout in history. Yeah, I didn't cover this. I'm glad y'all remembered. Thanks. I don't think I did. Actually, I'm pretty sure I didn't. The investors, who also include a firm managed by Jared Kushner, President Donald Trump's son-in-law, and the private equity firm Silver Lake Partners, valued the deal $55 billion. EA stockholders will receive $210 per share. The deal far exceeds the $32 billion price tag to take Texas utility TXU private in 2007, which had shattered records for leveraged buyouts. PIF, which was currently the largest insider stakeholder in Electronic Arts, will be rolling over its existing 9.9% investment in the company. The Saudi PIF has been a very active player in the video gaming market since 2022, taking minority stakes in most scaled public video gaming publishers and also outright purchases of companies like ESL, Faceit, and Scopely, he wrote. The PIF has made its intentions to scale its gaming arm, Savvy Games Group, clear, and the EA deal would represent the biggest such move to date by some distance. PIF is also a minority investor in Nintendo. The deal needs approval from national security regulators on the Committee on Foreign Investment, given that the Saudis are involved, but there are plenty of reasons to expect it will go through. Not only does Trump's son-in-law want to do the deal, but the president could also be inclined to look favorably on any Saudi investment because he has benefited directly from their spending. His family business has been paid by Saudi-backed LIV Golf for hosting its tournaments at his club, starting at a Why did this branch off into Trump? His club starting at a difficult time years ago when the PGA Tour pulled out of events at the same venues following the chance. How? How did we get here? Same venues following the January 6th siege of the Capitol by Trump supporters in 2021. This is not what I wanted to read about. All roads lead to Trump. We ended up at January 6th. Oh, man. The U.S. agency leading the Foreign Investment Committee, the Treasury Department, did not immediately respond to a request for comment about the potential conflicts of interest. If the transaction closes as anticipated, it will... Fuck me. All right. I lost my place. Hang on. If the transaction closes as anticipated, it will end EA's 36-year history as a publicly traded company that began with its shares ending its first day of trading at a split adjusted 52 cents. The IPO came 7 years after EA was founded by former Apple employee William Tripp Hawkins, who began playing analog versions of baseball and football made by Stratomatic as a teenager during the 1960s. CEO Andrew Wilson has led the company since 2013, and he will remain in that role, the firm said Monday. Electronic Arts would be taken private, and its headquarters would remain in Redwood City, California. Kushner, the CEO of Affinity Partners, said, "I've admired EA's ability to create iconic, lasting experiences, and as someone who grew up playing their games and now enjoys them with his kids, I couldn't be more excited about what's ahead." Those poor children. The size of the video game market has attracted large investors in recent years. One of EA's biggest rivals, Activision Blizzard, was snapped up by technology powerhouse Microsoft for nearly $69 billion in 2023, while the competition from mobile video game makers such as Epic Games has intensified. I'm sorry, I'm a child. $69 billion. This marks the second high-profile deal involving Silver Lake and a technology company with a legion of loyal fans in recent weeks. Silver Lake is also part of a newly formed joint venture spearheaded by Oracle, involved in a deal to take over the U.S. oversight of TikTok's social video platform, although all the details of that complex transaction haven't been divulged yet. I'm pretty sure this is outdated because the TikTok shit is pretty much over. When was this post? No, October 1st, 2025. What the fuck? There's more shit about the, well, this is a month old now, but still, I didn't hear shit about TikTok stuff since they unbanned the app. But anyway, by going private, EA will be able to retool operations without worrying about market reactions, although its video games still have a fervent following. EA's annual avenues have been stagnant during the past 3 fiscal years, hovering from $7.4 billion to $7.6 billion. Mike Hickey of the Benchmark Company thinks the proposed deal of $210 per share offer price may be falling short of EA's intrinsic value. With Battlefield 6 about to launch in a pipeline that could add more than $2 billion in God damn it. Let me just start over. With Battlefield 6 about to launch in a pipeline that could add more than $2 billion in incremental bookings by fiscal year 28, the true earnings power of EA is only beginning to emerge, he wrote. Hickey is unsure if the transaction is in shareholders' best interest. Hang on. I feel like you're going to have to cover more Saudi Arabia because they are planning to take over large swaths of the entertainment industry. They've been doing this for comedians and other forms of entertainment. They've been pouring lots of money into it. Yeah, it seems like they're becoming culturally aware. Ooh, I don't know what that's going to look like. But anyway. Let's see where I was. The board's decision to recommend a sale at $210 per share suggests a prioritization of near-term certainty and legacy over maximizing long-term shareholder value, he wrote to clients. But Nick McKay of Freedom Capital Markets believes the offer makes sense for EA because share price appreciation is likely limited given that the success of its sports franchises and various live services streams are already mostly baked into the stock. The financial backing and resources of the investor consortium should enable EA to increase its focus on long-term growth opportunities that may have been viewed as too risky or expensive as a public company, he wrote in an analyst note. EA shares rose 4.5% Monday after jumping 15% on Friday when reports of a possible takeover began to circulate. The deal is expected to close in the first quarter of fiscal 2027. It still needs approval from EA's shareholders. Damn, this is not the perspective I really wanted to read from, honestly. It's a good one, but I wanted to hear it from the perspective of, gamers. I wanted to hear people's opinion on the buyout that way. Hang on. Hang on, I'm assessing a new article. Oh, Lord. Okay. I think this will be a good article. Let me read it because this is more so from the perspective of like actual players. So I'm going to put this back on screen. Okay. So this next one is going to be from Games Radar. I'm going to try and make this the last one. EA claims our creative freedom and player first values and EA do not belong in the same sentence. But anyway, EA claims our creative freedom and player first values will remain intact after buyout, and even with the new debt of $20 billion, it will work to grow the company. Holy shit. How do you pay back $20 billion? We'll see. An updated version of an FAQ shared with EA employees addresses concerns that the company will be over encumbered with the $20 billion debt it stands to absorb following the closure of its pending leveraged buyout, as well as fears that EA Games could face creative restrictions or censorship under new owners, notably including Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund. On September 29, an initial draft of this FAQ assured EA employees worried about layoffs that there would be no immediate changes to jobs, among other things. An updated version of the FAQ, dated October 30 and posted by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, expands and adds several questions and points. One new section asks, will the debt impact our ability to invest and grow the business? EA says no. Through strong cash generation, we will continue pursuing organic and inorganic growth opportunities as a private company, even with the new debt. What the fuck are inorganic growth opportunities? Anyway, this reads as the company insisting it won't suddenly pause or downscale all growth ventures in order to shovel as much money as possible into the $20 billion debt hole. Additionally, EA writes, the consortium also expects to invest in our business, enabling us to accelerate innovation and unlock new growth opportunities. What does that fucking mean? It just sounds like filler to get through an interview. Anyway, rather than a supervillain headquarters, the consortium is the collective term for the three buyers in this EA deal: the Saudi PIF, private equity firm Silver Lake, and Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners. EA notes it will sunset shareholder return programs as a private company, returning directly to growth. It adds that the same discipline and operational excellence that's made us successful will continue to guide how we invest and deliver for our global communities. This FAQ previously examined how EA's culture may change as a result of this deal. Two new points have been added to this section. The consortium believes in our vision, our leadership, and the strength of our teams. The first claims they are investing in EA because they believe we are uniquely positioned to lead the future of entertainment. The second point reads, EA will maintain creative control, and our track record of creative freedom and player-first values will remain intact. Underneath, a new section directly interrogates what influence will these stockholders have on creative or business decisions. That is a very important question. I mean, not that EA themselves does too well in this department, but well, then again, the Saudis don't have a kind opinion of certain things that we don't like in entertainment. So, we'll see. EA says its mission to inspire the world to play will remain unchanged and repeats that our creative freedom and player-first values will remain intact. The company doesn't single out some of the specific values that players and developers have worried could be on the chopping block, like the very progressive messaging seen from studios like BioWare. As studio vet Mark Dara put it, but it does offer more broad assurances of creative expression. The consortium believes in our vision, our leadership, and our focus on creating games, stories, and content that reflect a range of experiences and delivering them to our global player community, EA says. They're investing in the creativity that defines EA. The EA buyout is projected to close within 6 to 9 months. It has faced scrutiny from the U.S. senators concerned about the foreign influence and national security risks, and from game developers asking government regulators to ensure any path forward protects jobs, preserves creative freedom, and keeps decision-making accountable to the workers who make EA successful. If and when the deal closes as planned, or rather in the following months and years, we'll see for ourselves whether layoffs typical of leveraged buyouts historically do hit the company's core or orbiting teams, and whether EA's creative decision actually shifts under its new owners. Unrelatedly, I've just checked my crystal ball, and it says 2026 probably won't be all sunshine and rainbows. Honestly, this does kind of answer a couple questions that players would be concerned about, but it's still EA, honestly. To the point, I don't even know how to feel about, the Saudis owning it. I have no idea how to feel about it. Yeah, Alan, it was kind of a load, honestly. Because here's the thing, I did want to read something from like a perspective that players would care about, but I think in that moment I forgot who the fuck we were dealing with. It's EA, bro. They already don't have a favorable opinion. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't even know what I was thinking. I mean, I guess it's good that I did it because it's just a different perspective altogether, and it's important to look at them, even if you garner very little information. At least now you know. But still, I forgot who the fuck we were dealing with. It's EA. What's crazy is that normally the question of whether or not stockholders would have creative power would be very important if it wasn't EA. Or if we weren't in the cultural position we are in now, because we know that the Saudis have a different view of certain Western values, like the progressivism that was mentioned in the article. Like, we might actually agree with some of their decisions. That's what's crazy about it. Like, if the Saudi stockholders had any creative sway, like say over like LGBTQ ideology being in the game, we might be in favor of that. That's why it's so crazy. What rock are they smoking? By the way, Ark is better than Battlefield 6. Great. Their games were already unplayable. Now AI will make them. A lot of corporate spin in that. Big cuts coming for EA. Yeah, that's exactly what the fuck I was reading. I'm like, that a lot of what they were saying was a whole bunch of fucking nothing. Like, it doesn't tell you anything. It's because our culture has been gutted out as far as making good video games or masculine values. So anybody who has the previous baseline assumptions from the gaming golden age. Yep. Wait, I don't think you finished that sentence. You said it's because our culture has been gutted out as far as making good video games or masculine values. So anybody who has the previous baseline assumptions from the gaming golden age, dot, dot, dot. You know what I mean? Like, what's the end of that sentence? But I do expect Islamic whitewash. You can't keep what you don't have, basically. No mention of how some of the biggest YouTube and Twitch streamers for EA have left the EA Creator Network in protest of this sale. Huh? No thoughts about the growing boycott of all EA content because we don't want to give the PIF our money? After driving away to laying off most of BioWare's old talent and the flop that is Failguard that followed as a result, many of us are so done with EA and Android Wilson's obsession with microtransactions and live service BS. Android Wilson will be able to make palatable video games even if they have the same monetization problems. Maybe. I love how EA being sold to Saudi Arabia is where everyone draws the line, in spite of Microsoft and its CEO and countless other tech companies that support and facilitate evil around the world just for profit. I guess it only matters if it's fashionable, huh? You know what? That is not invalid critique. It's not. Yeah, nobody else is going to think so deeply about this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the sad part. What a laugh. When was the last time EA had player first values? Exactly. That shit was bullshit as soon as I read it. Whoa, hey, maybe they're referring to one of their anniversary release $70 titles like FIFA or FC, where they've neglected to fix ongoing issues on the PC version for about 7 years straight. The issues weren't a big deal. It was only stuff like the game being unable to recognize a controller input randomly and at any time in your game, leaving you completely unable to play. But hey, in this situation, they put the player first. An easy workaround that was suggested was unplugging all other USB devices on my PC. Piece of cake. Thanks for, thanks for putting the players first, EA. Exactly, bro. Stop playing EA games, bro. Stop. Bro, the players see through the bullshit. Exactly. Like, what do you mean players first values? Oh, man. Jesus. Well, we're coming up on 2 hours. We're at an hour, 58 minutes, 58 seconds. So, like, I'll give it another minute to read some comments and then wrap up, because I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm tired of all the news regarding entertainment being negative. I mean, I realize that's the point of this podcast, but the entire purpose of me documenting that is, you know, recognizing it as a problem. You know, it'd be nice if something good would happen for a change. You know what I mean? How do you guys feel about the gaming landscape? Where do you see it going? Do you think there's any way out of the AAA fog? Okay, so you think it's shitty besides indie? Basically. Not gonna lie, that's basically where I am, to be honest. There's been, like, on Twitter, I've just been following any indie games creator I see. Not all of them. Like, clearly it's only games that I'd be interested in, right? But I've been doing that, and there's been a lot, I mean a lot, of indie games being made that are actually pretty good conceptually, and they take mechanics from popular games, but they do it in a way that's not a carbon copy. Don't get me wrong, I've seen a lot of carbon copies. There's a game that's literally just a ripoff of Hollow Knight that was being that I think it's out now, actually. Lotus Knight. That shit is just a ripoff of Hollow Knight. Somebody's making a straight up carbon copy of Symphony of the Night. I'm just not interested in. I'm not interested in clone games. I'm tired of Souls likes, and anything that attempts to be a clone or something else. Like, there's another Smash clone coming out. I'm just not interested in clone shit. I'm not. Every time I look at your game, I see the thing that did it better and first. Yeah, a lot of indies are getting AAA tools. Hopefully, Team Cherry branches out into other types of games, but that's one indie studio that is eating good right now, and hopefully they can parlay their funds into other projects that don't have to deal with Hollow Knight. Not that the IP has overstayed its welcome, for God's sake. It took how many years for them to get another fucking game, a sequel out? You know? But you know what I mean. I'm actually excited to see what indie devs have in store for the next few years. Like, there's good variety. Well, if no one has anything else to add, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for tonight. This has been your episode of the Monkey's Paw. Thank y'all for watching. Appreciate y'all coming out. Keep an eye out for me me dropping new videos. I'm working on a couple. I am gonna be working on part 5 of Devil May Cry soon. But after having part 4 taken down, I don't have a copyright strike because I didn't try to appeal. But after having part 4 taken down, I'm gonna take a bit of a break off of that just because I need to purposefully strategize how to not get this shit flagged for copyright. Because it just seems like no matter what I do, nothing is fair use, even though the video is clearly fucking fair use. And YouTube doesn't give a shit about fair use. So yeah, there's gonna be a couple cultural critique videos dropping. Like I already alluded to, you know, the discourse surrounding Halo's sprint mechanic and how that parallels into other games I've talked about, Doom and Dark Ages. So yeah, keep an eye out for things like that. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, click links in the description. Finger, Pulse, Cosmic Goth. This has been your gracious host, Kaine Walker. I'm signing off, and I'll see you all again next time. Peace.